Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live 10 at 10.
Hackers, you might be thinking the bad guys, but some believe the name is getting a bad rap. Thanks for joining us tonight. A local private investigator considers himself a hacker, the good kind of hacker.
Last week we showed you the story of a traditional private eye. Well, tonight Valley News Team's Nicole Johnson shows us the new modern-day version, working to protect your cyber world.
You have to understand how the bad guys think.
You might imagine a dark basement where a hacker robs your information. But somewhere in Fargo-Moorhead, we won't say where, Steve Gaber is hacking in a bright office.
I would call it the modern PI.
He's one of the good guys.
If I hack your system and I don't have the proper permissions, I'm just as bad as the bad guys.
Once upon a time, you needed to lock your house, your car, and protect your purse. But these days, criminals have it much easier. Every time you log online, you could be leaving your front door wide open.
We can be robbed while we're sitting right in our very home, where before you had to go out and do it.
And they can get away with so much more. Steve can't just hack anyone. To be the good guy, he has to have a client's permission or a search warrant. And if he gets that, he'll make a copy of your computer down to the smallest detail and find evidence to prove how you got hacked and who did it.
Most of the time, in cases we work with, there is no prosecution, simply because the goal is to, recoup the financial loss for our client to gain back what it is they lost. And unfortunately, with criminal prosecution, you don't always reach that goal.
Something he says is quite boring.
But the calculator is really my greatest tool.
Hours of adding, typing, and copying information.
Make sure you have good passwords.
He could give you tips for days on how to protect your cyber world.
We come up with something that is just totally bizarre and unknown.
But with millions and millions of people getting hijacked, there's a whole new clientele for Steve, the new face of private investigators. Nicole Johnson, Valley News Live.
Gaber is with Sentry Security Investigations. He's training to be fully licensed in the area of cyber investigations. If you are looking to hire a private eye, we have information on our website. Just log on to valleynewslive.com and click on this story.
There's word tonight that a former NDSU fullback player died from an accidental drug poisoning. 28-year-old Tyler Jangula died at his Williston home on February 1st. He had just undergone Achilles surgery a couple of days earlier. Published reports point to a medical examiner who says the cause of Jangula's death was use of 3 narcotic pain relievers, including hydrocodone. Well, Fargo is a growing city, and there's no better example of that than the schools that your kids attend. The school district's making boundary changes for a handful of middle schools and high schools.
Valley News Team's Mace Inger talked with parents who've gone through this before and those who have yet to experience it. Macy, changing the boundaries is not the only project in the works.
Yes, that's right. The Eagles Education Center near Quartz Plus is set to become another elementary school next fall. Changing the school boundary lines and the addition of the Eagles Education Center are meant to ease growing pains. But the parents I talk with say they just want what's best for their children. Empty swings. No one on the slide. It's spring break on a very cold week in Fargo. Not many parents have been thinking of school right now, but they may want to.
You know, everybody has their certain schools they want their kids to go to, and maybe they have friends that they've met in daycare and you want them to go to school with those friends.
Eagles Education Center is getting a makeover. Designs have come out for the addition, which will turn the building into an elementary school for 400 kids. Construction should be finished by next fall. Students from Lincoln, Centennial, and a few from Ed Clapp elementary schools will all be impacted.
As a parent, you want to know where your kids could potentially end up going to school at.
On the other side of town, Fargo School District plans to move students from overcrowded middle and high schools to places like North High School, where there's more space.
What I'm trying to tell parents with this plan is that we think this is the last major shift that needs to be made in Fargo for quite a while, in particularly with the middle school, high schools.
If that plan is approved, the changes would start next school year.
There's certain neighborhoods that obviously that this impacts that, have concerns about moving from one part of town to another when it comes to going to schools. What we're trying to do is have a plan that is and be as sensitive as we can to families.
School district officials say these plans are written with students in mind.
The kids will be just fine. Yeah, they'll be a little disappointed, but if you talk with them enough, it should be just fine.
Now, the district is asking for feedback from parents. Starting next Monday, the entire boundary change report that was presented to the school board will be available to look at online. Now, you can find the links to our school district website at valleynewslive.com. Mike?
Thanks, Macy. The school district also welcomes any parents' concerns about the transformation of the Eagle Education Center.
It's an expensive issue that most homeowners and would-be homeowners are facing, the skyrocketing cost of special assessments in the region. Special assessments are fees charged to property owners, normally for roads, sidewalks, and water. It's an issue that's being talked about even at the North Dakota legislature. If passed, a House bill would study the use of assessments and their cost. Typically, the cost is passed along to the homeowner, and for West Fargo's mayor, he wants to find solutions from this study.
Give me a solution. Give me a solution that, in the aggregate, will make it cheaper for the homeowner. I'm all in. If you're just going to tell me that specials are too high and we're going to study that legislatively, then what good is that?
The House bill of special assessments was sent to the Senate this week.
The North Dakota House rejected a bill that would have required two-person crews on all freight trains across the state. The vote was close, decided by only one vote. One of the sponsors on the bill says the fatal train crash near Larimore highlighted the need for two-person crews. Representative Corey Mock says there's a possibility of reconsidering that vote.
In a story we first brought you earlier this week, a pastor's wife is in the crossfire with law for praying too loudly on city sidewalks. Since then, we had nearly 200 comments on Facebook with very mixed reactions on this.
Valley News Team's Christina Craig talked to neighbors of the pastor's wife to get their reaction to what they're dealing with.
Silence, neighbors say, is a rarity near the First United Baptist Church.
It's not fun to live next to this woman.
When she stands in front of our house, yeah, I hear her with my windows and doors closed.
Some neighbors, like Carla Hitter, are tired of hearing what they call a racket. The pastor's wife praying loudly throughout the neighborhood.
She stops directly in front of our house and will yell for 15 minutes at a time.
Hitter says the woman prays on the back porch, screaming for hours at a time, rain or shine, which is a clear view from her front window.
One time my husband was sick, and he's rarely sick, and he was sleeping upstairs, and she came by and woke him up.
But others, like Danielle Smith, says there are much louder noises in town, like big trucks driving by.
She's doing nothing wrong but following her faith.
Smith doesn't see the pastor's wife's loud praying as a problem. Still, some say their own rights to a little peace and quiet is being denied.
We've never had neighbors like this. I mean, that don't care about other people's rights.
You can listen to that for so long before you get frazzled and before you just, I can't do it anymore. And that is where we are.
In Lisbon, Christina Craig, Valley News Live.
Now, the pastor's wife has been in court twice for disrupting the peace by praying too loud. She's paid her fines, but some think law enforcement should be doing more to put an end to this. If you need help uncovering any issue in your community, call our Whistleblower Hotline. We'll do our best to get to the bottom of it. 701-237-6576. Call that number and leave your tip. A member of our investigative team will get on the case and go to work to expose the truth.
North Dakota's Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor responded to our requests regarding Susan Balala. On Friday, the second highest court in the land ruled the state was in the wrong when it closed Balala's business center to prison, and the state may now owe her millions of dollars. During the 2003 case, Drew Wrigley was the U.S. Attorney, and the Attorney General was Wayne Stenjum. In a written statement, Stenjum said in part, this case is a result of a difference of opinion on the interpretation of the North Dakota law. As for Drew Wrigley, he told us that it would be irresponsible to speak on this ongoing litigation that he hasn't been involved in 6 years. Wrigley's office directed us to reach the U.S. Attorney, the current one, which we did, but we still have not heard a call back on.
A portion of a park in St. Paul, Minnesota could reopen to the public by late spring or summer, 2 years after a fatal landslide that killed 2 school children who were on a field trip. 50 acres of the more than 380-acre Lilydale Park have been off limits after 2 children were buried when part of the bluff gave way. 2 other children were injured. The students run a fossil hunting field trip at Lilydale. The plan is to reopen a section of the park following an in-depth geological study. This study will help determine which sections of the park are safe and which sections still pose a safety hazard. Now you can get Valley News Live news like this and weather text alerts right to your phone. You'll get the latest breaking news, weather, and other updates on your mobile phone. Just head to valleynewslive.com to sign up.
Valley News Live 10 at 10 continues with no wait weather.
Well, the sun was shining today. It looked nice, but boy, was it chilly out there with wind chills tonight.
Gonna explain it?
I've got
What's
a
going
lot of
on
weather
up
to
there?
explain. Let's go ahead and take a look outdoors because we have temperatures that are already below zero. 22 below is what it feels like thanks to some northwest winds. We're talking about some gusts out there up to 20 and wind chills that'll be downright dangerous through the overnight. So be aware of that. 11 below already in Grand Forks, 9 below Thief River Falls, and 8 below in Roseau. So the coldest of the air along and north of Highway 2, holding on to 0 degrees in Wahpeton. It feels like 20 to 30 below. That wind chill in Grand Forks this hour, 28 below zero. That's the same thing we have in Baudette. So brutal cold out there. Bemidji as well, 8 below. And as we take a look out to the west, it's 0 in Bismarck. Cold air diving all the way south. Tennessee, heavy snow making its way through. And now swinging to the north and east into the mid-Atlantic states. Our overnight forecast shows temperatures will be sliding down. It'll be between 10 and 15 below. Air temperature in Fargo when you rise and shine on your Thursday morning. Wind chills between 30 and 45 degrees below zero. Notice the wind speeds aren't anything out of the ordinary, 10 to 15 miles per hour. But with temperatures this cold, it will be brutal out there. I think we'll see some near 30 below readings in northwest portions of Minnesota, specifically maybe northern Clearwater County, northern Beltrami County, and maybe the eastern reaches of Marshall County in Minnesota. All right, let's get to midday. It does show some improvement, but only modest. Will be still sub-zero in many locations with wind chills around 15 below under mostly clear skies. We'll have a wind at about 10 miles per hour. Then throughout the remainder of the afternoon, we'll see temperatures sneaking up to just above zero. And then on your way home from work, it looks like we're right back down into the cold. However, milder temperatures will be heading our way to close the work week. So for now, a wind chill advisory for the entire area into your Thursday. And take a look at the overnight conditions here, continuing to slowly fall down into the teens below zero for Fargo-Moorhead with a northwest wind out there. Wind chills throughout the overnight will be brutally cold. Heading into the day tomorrow, by the time we get to the early afternoon, which is when our temperature peaks, it will do so above zero, but just slightly above zero. Tomorrow night, clear and calm will lead to rapid early evening cooling, but things get better. Here's a look at your 3 o'clock planner elsewhere. Temperatures above zero along Interstate 94 and south, along Highway 10 and south in portions of Minnesota with temperatures that'll be near zero up north. Oh, we've seen a lot of beautiful sunsets out there. Tyler capturing a great one on the Minnesota River down in southern Minnesota. Here's your planning forecast then as we take a gander at what's going on across the region. We have a 9 below start on Friday morning. That's cold, you guys, and then temperatures are warming as we head into the weekend. 20s out there, near 30 on Monday, and a chance for more snow holding off until Tuesday and Wednesday. 15.5 inches of snow so far this winter. And I mentioned it earlier, Boston is pushing 100 inches of snow. We've got a long way to go if we want to catch up to Boston.
All right, what's going on with this? It was on that side, now it's what?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Like the weather, it's always changing.
It's always interesting.
All right.
Yes.
Still to come tonight, a breakfast chain joining forces in a very unique way with a delivery startup.
But first, the legislation making its way through Minnesota to help pay for telemedicine for patients.